And welcome back to the program. I'm Roby Bright, joined by Governor Asa Hutchinson. We're talking about highways before the break there, Governor. You have had some Democratic support for this program in the legislature. Filing period has closed. There are some of those Democrats that supported you on this highway plan, not to mention tax cuts, as well as Arkansas Works that have Republican opponents this year. Are you going to be out campaigning against some of these Democrats that have been pretty positive on your agenda?
Well, you're absolutely right. The highway plan was passed with bipartisan support, and the polling information shows that really Republicans and Democrats at the same level support the highway plan. And so I think this is something that our candidates, both Democrats and Republicans, will be supporting, hopefully, and I think they would be remiss if they didn't with those numbers. You know, in terms of my campaigning, I wanted to be able to devote my priority to issue one, getting this highway plan passed, because I think this is fundamental to where we want to go as a state in terms of growth. It is long-lasting. It can really, it is a permanent solution to a long-standing problem.
So it sounds like to me you're not going to get involved in some legislative races?
I don't have any plans to get involved in legislative races. You know, there's, you know, I might make some endorsements, but and I have actually made in one or two races, but, but you know, that's, I always try to resist getting involved in primary races.
Well, I'm talking about general election races.
Oh, general election races. Well, sure, I'll be supporting our Republican candidates in general election.
Even against some of those Democrats that have been supportive of your agenda?
It's all a matter of degree and the candidates, but they understand that you know, the Democrats that supported me in so many different ways, they support the Democratic nominee. I'm a Republican. I support the Republican nominee. Now, at the same time, you know, I have a high regard for so many of the Democrats that supported this plan, but I'm a Republican. I'll be supporting the Republican nominee. But in terms of my campaign efforts, I want to be focused on issue one.
Let's talk about what's going on with the Little Rock School District. Obviously, a lot of activity this week between here and the State Board of Education, which I think has still postponed that memorandum of understanding here. There was a strike this week, and the ones that were striking said they want full local control back of the district immediately. What does full local control mean to you?
Well, it first of all means electing a local school board, which we have set those elections for November of 2020. We've got the filing dates all in place, so that starts the process of local control. It starts the process of having an elected school board again.
It can't be done immediately, is what you're saying?
No, you've got to have a filing period. You've got to have candidates that file. You've got to have a campaign. You've got to have election dates. So there's, by law, time sequences for that. But that's the first thing that you know, is full local control. The second part of it is you know, exactly what is the role the state plays. I've advocated, and I believe it's constitutionally required, that the state continue to support the Little Rock School District. In other words, we continue to provide intensive support for those schools that are struggling, because that's required constitutionally.
Are you worried about the escalating rhetoric and all this? You have been compared to Orville Faubus and some of the attacks that have come out on you on this. Bob Ballinger, state senator this week, basically tweeted out that there are thugs that are blocking entrance to Central High School from some of the strikers. Is it gone a little too far in your mind?
Well, there's always a risk whenever you have high passions on something like education that everybody cares about. And I think we have to respect both sides, and I hope everybody in the Little Rock School District understands the State Board of Education. These are volunteers. They're people that love education. They're trying to do the right thing. I don't think they ought to be disparaged. I don't think the public servants should be disparaged, and I have the same respect for the teachers, whether they were in the classroom yesterday or whether they were out striking. But there's responsibilities that we have, so I emphasize the responsibility side. I do believe, you know, I don't like some of the rhetoric that's out there, but as a leader, as governor, I hope that I want to be restrained And I want to make sure that I understand that's just part of the passions that we have right now. But people do need to stand back and just think that whichever side you're on, there is a debate on policy as to what's the best way to educate and stand with the children here in this district.
Last question for you on this subject, and then we'll wrap up. I know you got to get going. What do you feel like the line of communication between you and the folks that are striking on this Little Rock School District or have these passions on the other side of the policy fence from you, do you feel like that the dialogue is good between you? Can it be improved? Do you think that the line of communication is open enough?
Well, I do, but I always look for ways to improve it. For example, I brought in student groups and I met with them and I wanted to hear from them. I've had many occasions to meet with parents as well. And so there's a lot of communication and listening that goes on far beyond what is in the media. But also there is this is a school district that is critically important. It's the second largest in the state of Arkansas. We have a state responsibility here. But the State Board of Education is who I rely upon here. Yes, I appointed most of them, but they're independent. They're showing their discretion. I think they showed it last time. And so I respect that. And so I'm giving them the latitude that they need. I want to back them up. And I think they're making good decisions, thoughtful decisions, but they're listening to the public as well. And so the communication's at a lot of different levels, and if there's ways that we can improve it, we'd be glad to, but it's not always just listening to the noisiest. Sometimes it's listening to the broad variety of people that are concerned about this issue.
All right, Governor Asa Hutchinson, as always, appreciate you being here. Thank you. We're back with more right after this.